Okay, so you ready to dive into some more Law of One stuff?
Always am. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so this time I thought we could really get into this whole idea of personal growth. Like Ra talks about this threefold discipline of the personality as like the core of it all.
Yeah, it's a pretty powerful framework, right?
It is, and like they break it down so simply too. Know yourself, accept yourself, and become the creator.
Right. And it sounds kind of straightforward, but it's actually super deep when you start unpacking each of those stages.
Absolutely. So that's what we're going to do in this deep dive. Like, what does this actually mean in practical terms? For
Mm.
someone who's like, okay, I want to try this out. How do I actually apply this in my life?
Yeah, good question. Because it's not just some airy fairy spiritual concept. It's like Ra's giving us very specific techniques for transforming ourselves.
Totally. So our mission here is to like break down those first steps. Like, what does it really mean to know yourself in this context? Where do you even start?
Well, when Ra talks about knowing yourself, it's not just about, knowing your likes and dislikes or your personality type.
Right? Like surface level stuff.
Exactly. It's way more than that. It's about like a total exploration of your inner world, all the conscious and unconscious stuff, the hidden landscape.
Okay, so like a deep dive into our own minds.
Yeah, and this is where things get really interesting, right? Because they talk about mapping your inner archetypes, those universal patterns of behavior and energy, and like really getting a handle on your emotional responses and your tendencies.
So it's less about just saying, oh, I'm an introvert, and more about understanding the deeper why behind that.
Exactly. And I think this Raw quote really captures the essence of it. To the disciplined entity, all things are open and free. The discipline which opens the universes opens also the gateways to evolution.
So it's like this unlocking a gateway through self-knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. And Ross super clear about why this is the starting point. They say the heart of the discipline of the personality is threefold. One, know yourself. And they emphasize that understanding yourself is like the foundation for all spiritual seeking.
So you can't really skip this step.
Nope. And what's really mind-blowing is the idea that your perception of reality isn't objective. Like everything you experience is filtered through your own internal lens. It's a reflection of your inner state.
So like everything's a mirror showing me aspects of myself.
Precisely so. To understand the world out there, you got to first understand the world in here.
Wow, okay, that's a lot to process.
Mhm.
But it makes sense if everything I see is colored by my own. This is like the most important thing I can do.
Right. And that's why this whole knowing yourself thing is so crucial. It's about becoming aware of those filters so you can start seeing things more clearly.
Okay, so for someone who wants to start this mapping of their inner world, where do they even begin? It feels like a huge undertaking.
It can feel overwhelming for sure, but the cool thing is the law of one actually gives us some really practical starting points.
Like what?
Well, for one, instead of judging your emotions or desires, just try getting curious about them. See those responses, even the ones you don't like, as potential distortions of love and light. Yeah, like think of it this way. Pure love and light is like this perfect, clear energy, but when it passes through our filters, our beliefs and experiences, it gets kind of distorted.
Okay, I'm with you.
So, by observing those distortions, those emotional reactions, those patterns, we can learn a lot about where we might be holding on to limiting beliefs or unresolved energies.
Interesting. So it's like those negative emotions are actually trying to teach us something.
Exactly. They're not the enemy. They're like messengers pointing us towards areas where we need to do some inner work.
So how do we actually do that work?
Well, one simple but powerful practice is journaling about your emotional triggers. So, like, don't just write down what happened, but really ask yourself, why did that trigger me? What core belief might this be pointing to? What fear was activated? What unmet need was I trying to fulfill?
Okay, so digging deeper into those triggers.
Yeah, and dream work can be super helpful too. Paying attention to recurring symbols or archetypes in your dreams can reveal a lot about your unconscious mind.
And I've heard that just like regular daily reflection can be helpful too.
Absolutely. Like even just taking 5 minutes at the end of the day to ask yourself, what was I seeking in my actions and interactions today, can bring a lot of unconscious motivations to the surface.
So many different ways to go inward.
Right. It's all about finding what works best for you and then just being consistent with it.
And I remember reading something about how understanding ourselves helps us understand others too.
Yeah, that's a key point. Ra says each entity contains all in understanding the self. It is possible to understand any other self.
So by exploring my own depths, I'm actually tapping into something universal.
Exactly. It's like the idea that every wave in the ocean is unique, but they're all fundamentally made of the same water.
That's a beautiful way to put it. So, like, through knowing myself, I can start to see the common threads that connect me to all beings.
Right. And that's where true empathy and compassion come from.
Okay, so now I want to get into this whole thing about the mind as both a tool and a temple. The source material even brings in the tarot here.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts because it really shows how practical this whole self-knowledge thing can be.
So how does the tarot fit into all of this?
Well, Ray describes the mind as having this archetypical structure, like a fundamental framework of consciousness that we all share.
Okay.
And tools like the tarot can act as a symbolic map to help you navigate those inherent patterns within yourself.
Oh, so it's not about fortune telling, but more about self-reflection.
Exactly. It's like a mirror reflecting back your own unconscious energies and archetypal influences.
So knowing yourself in this context involves becoming fluent in the symbolic language of your own mind.
Exactly. It's about recognizing the archetypes that tend to manifest in your thoughts, feelings, and experiences, and understanding how they influence your perception of the world.
Oh, so now let's look at all this through the lens of the white magician. What's the ultimate aim of this deep dive into self-knowledge for them?
Well, for the white magician, it's all about achieving a state of inner clarity, not like a rigid moral perfection, but more like tuning a musical instrument. So it resonates purely like the analogy of the crystal bowl that Rao uses.
Right, so it's not about erasing your flaws, but more about understanding them.
Yeah, exactly. The goal isn't to eradicate the parts of yourself you don't like, but to bring them into the light of your awareness so they no longer operate unconsciously and distort your perceptions or your actions.
This inner clarity allows the white magician to become a more effective channel for that intelligent energy we talked about.
Exactly. They become a clear conduit for the creative forces of the universe.
Okay, so that's know yourself. Now let's move on to the second key. Accept yourself, which honestly feels even harder than the first one.
It definitely can be, because for a lot of us, self-acceptance is a major stumbling block. But it's important to understand that in this context, accepting yourself doesn't mean condoning bad behavior or settling for mediocrity.
So it's not about giving yourself a free pass to do whatever you want.
No, not at all. It's more about embracing all aspects of your being, the light and the shadow, the parts you love and the parts you'd rather ignore.
So it's about integration, not indulgence.
Precisely. And Ra even cautions against trying to rigidly control your thoughts and impulses, except when they might lead to actions that harm others. They suggest that this resistance, this over-control, can actually make things worse.
That's interesting. It seems counterintuitive, right? You'd think more control would be better.
It seems that way, but what Ra's saying is that true transformation comes from acceptance, not suppression.
Okay, I can see how that makes sense. So by resisting those shadow parts of ourselves, we're actually giving them more power.
Right. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The more you push it down, the more forcefully it pops back up.
So how do we stop pushing the beach ball down?
Well, Ra links this acceptance to letting go of the need for control, which in turn allows our heart center, or what they call the green ray, to open up.
The green ray.
Yeah. It's associated with love, compassion, and balance, and it's considered essential for any higher spiritual work.
Okay, so self-acceptance is like the key to unlocking the green ray.
Exactly. And what's really cool is that Ra connects this directly to our relationships with others. They say, if you can't accept yourself with compassion, your perception of others will be distorted.
So by embracing my own imperfections, I become better at seeing others with empathy.
Yeah, it's like by creating that safe space within yourself for your own shadow, you build the foundation for genuine connection with others.
Wow, that's powerful. And it makes me think about forgiveness too, because how can I truly forgive others if I haven't forgiven myself?
Absolutely, they're totally intertwined, and that forgiveness then allows you to direct your will more effectively. You're no longer fighting against yourself, you're acting from a place of wholeness.
So it's like all these pieces fit together. Self-acceptance, forgiveness, directing the will, it all leads to greater clarity and the power of love.
Precisely, and when we consider this from the perspective of the white magician, it becomes even more important because Ra says that fully knowing and accepting yourself is crucial for what they call efficient manipulation.
Manipulation, that sounds kind of scary.
I know, right? But in Ra's terminology, manipulation doesn't have the negative connotation we usually associate with it. They're talking about conscious and intentional transformation, using your will to shape reality in alignment with the law of one.
Okay, so it's more like skillful action guided by love and wisdom.
Exactly. And Ra emphasizes that this kind of efficient manipulation can only happen when you fully embraced all aspects of yourself. Otherwise, you risk creating more distortion.
So the more I accept myself, the more purely I can channel positive energy.
That's the idea. And Ra describes this process as heart work, like welcoming those shadow aspects into the very center of your being, into the temple of the self.
So it's not about banishing the darkness, but integrating it.
right? It's like saying, hey, Shadow, I see you. You're a part of me and you have something to teach me.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And Ross says this is what unlocks the gateway to intelligent infinity.
Exactly. It's like finally allowing all the different parts of yourself to come home and creating inner harmony.
Okay, so now we get to the final piece of the puzzle, become the creator, which, to be honest, sounds like the most mind-bending concept of them all.
It definitely stretches our usual understanding of self and identity, but it's also the most liberating.
So what does Ra actually mean by becoming the creator?
Well, they say to become the creator is to become all that there is. It's about recognizing that on the deepest level, there's no separation between you and the source of all creation.
So it's not about becoming God in the traditional sense.
No, it's more about realizing that you've always been a part of God, that there's only ever been oneness.
Okay, so it's like a shift in perspective from seeing myself as a separate individual to recognizing my interconnectedness with everything.
Exactly. And Ra emphasizes that at this stage, the individual personality, as you initially understand it, starts to dissolve. It's not about inflating the ego or striving for personal power. It's about surrendering to the flow of the universe.
And it's like letting go of who you thought you were and merging with the infinite.
Yeah, and Ra highlights the indigo ray, which is associated with wisdom and intuition, as the gateway to intelligent infinity. And they say that to pass through this gateway, you need a deep sense of transparency and a willingness to let go of the ego.
So you can't carry your baggage through this door.
Nope, it's all about shedding those layers of identification that keep you separate from the whole.
So what does this look like in practice? Like, how does someone become the creator?
Well, Ra talks about the importance of the disciplined personality, but not in the sense of being rigid or controlling. It's more about becoming a pure and clear vessel for the expression of intelligent infinity.
So like a hollow bone.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
about emptying yourself out so you can be filled with the divine.
And they say that entering this state requires having already done the work of knowing and accepting yourself.
Right. It's like those first two stages lay the foundation for this final merging with the creator.
And it's also about dissolving judgment, right? Because if everything is ultimately one, then there's no good or bad, right or wrong.
Exactly. It's about transcending those dualistic categories and seeing the perfection in all things.
So the white magician, who has truly become the creator, isn't wielding power in a conventional sense, but is acting as a conduit for unconditional love and wisdom.
Precisely, they become a transparent vehicle for the expression of the one infinite creator.
Wow, this has been a really powerful exploration of these three stages. So just to recap for our listener, it starts with knowing yourself, then accepting yourself, and finally becoming the creator. It's amazing how interconnected these stages are.
It really is. It's like a spiral path that keeps leading you deeper into the heart of yourself and the heart of the universe.
And the white magician is like the embodiment of this path.
Yeah, they walk this path with humility and devotion, striving to become that hollow bone for the creator.
And the closing reflection from the source material really brings it all home. It says, "Beloved one, your journey is not toward becoming someone greater. It is toward becoming someone more transparent. As you clear the distortions and balance the energies, you become a lighthouse of remembrance that all is one and that one is love."
That's such a beautiful reminder. It shifts the focus from external achievement to inner transformation, from striving to surrendering.
And it invites us to consider which of these threefold keys resonates most with us right now.
Exactly. Where are you on your journey? What's the next step for you?
If you're feeling called to explore these ideas further, definitely check out The Law of One. It's a treasure trove of wisdom.
It really is.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. May your journey be filled with love and light.
And may you become ever more transparent.
Beautiful words. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Until next time.